Hi. First of all, I'd just like to start off by saying, on behalf of the British public, I'd like to formally apologise to Meghan Markle because, in comparison to what's happening now, that woman was not bringing down the monarchy. This looks to me like King Charles has to step away from the throne, because even though Andrew's done this, there's a lot of suspicion on what he knew as his brother, what the late Queen knew, what Camilla knew. She's been in that family for decades. I don't believe the Randy Andy that the press used to call him was just him having flirtations with adult women.
No.
I believe there was something more to it.
Well, I don't know.
And there was like an undisclosed. But I've just
read. Yeah, but let's not throw.
We don't know.
No. Well,
we don't know. But he did have that title, and it's not as if nobody knew that he was prepared.
Why are you defending Meghan though, Zoe, today?
Because, let's be honest, the woman ate an avocado. She was told something by her husband, which she felt was kind of racist. She wasn't in the room, but she got labelled with it. You bullied her for 8 years. Said she was bringing down the monarchy. But look what Andrew's done. It's way worse
it's a very
than
good
what
point,
Meghan ever did.
It makes Meghan...
Yeah, but my point is Charles needs to step away from the throne. It's the only way to save the monarchy.
All right, thank you. I thought you said step away from the phone, and I was thinking, how's that going to help? Thank you, Zoe. It's a good point. I mean, the Meghan-Harry thing looks like a picnic.
And that right there, did you hear that? On behalf of the British public, I'd like to formally apologise to Meghan Markle. You almost never hear something like that said on mainstream television. Not whispered, not sugar-coated, not framed as gossip. A straight-up apology. And honestly, it's long overdue, because for years we were told Meghan Markle was the crisis, the disruption, the woman supposedly tearing apart a 1,000-year-old institution just by existing in it. But watching that clip now with everything we know today, it sounds ridiculous. It sounds like one of the biggest media pylons we've ever witnessed. Think about it. For nearly a decade, headlines blame Meghan for everything. Family tensions, Meghan. Staff changes, Meghan. Bad press, Meghan. Poll numbers dipping. Somehow still Meghan. The woman couldn't eat lunch without it becoming a scandal. Meanwhile, the actual issues inside the monarchy, the serious ones, the uncomfortable ones, were either minimised or quietly swept aside. And that's exactly what that caller was pointing out. She basically said what millions of people have started to realise. Compared to what's happening now, Meghan was never the problem. Not even close. The contrast is honestly shocking. Meghan held her baby bump outrage. Meghan edited a guest list outrage. Meghan wanted privacy outrage. But when genuine institutional controversies surface, suddenly it's no comment, private matter, moving on. Do you see the imbalance? It's like the system went full force on the easiest target while tiptoeing around the stuff that actually affects public trust. And that's why this moment feels different. Because this wasn't a Sussex supporter on social media. This wasn't a podcast. This was daytime British television. A regular caller, completely unfiltered, saying, "We got this wrong." That's huge. And honestly, it shows just how much public perception has shifted. Because a few years ago, defending Meghan like that would have gotten you laughed off the air. Now, it sounds reasonable, it sounds logical, it sounds like common sense. For 8 years, the narrative was that Meghan was somehow bringing down the monarchy. Let's really sit with that for a second. One woman, one duchess, an American actress, supposedly strong enough to topple an entire royal institution that has survived wars, abdications and world crises. Does that even make sense? Of course not, it never did. But fear sells papers, blame sells clicks, and Meghan became the perfect scapegoat. She was new, she was outspoken, she didn't grow up inside palace culture, she didn't automatically accept that's just how things are done. And for some people inside that system, that was threatening. Not because she was destructive, but because she was different. She brought conversations about mental health into the open. She talked about race. She wanted protection from harassment. She expected fairness. In any normal workplace, those are reasonable expectations. But inside a centuries-old institution built on silence and hierarchy, suddenly it becomes difficult behaviour. And look how quickly the machine turned on her. Negative briefings, anonymous sources, daily character attacks. It wasn't just criticism, it was relentless. And what's wild is that people genuinely believed she was the danger. But now, fast forward, Harry and Meghan step away. They build their own life. They launch projects. They support veterans through Invictus. They sign deals that focus on storytelling and impact. They look peaceful, happy, functional. Not exactly the picture of chaos we were promised. If they were truly the problem, shouldn't everything have fallen apart without palace structure? Instead, they seem to be thriving. Which tells you something important. Maybe the stress wasn't coming from them. Maybe it was coming from the environment they were in. Because here's the uncomfortable truth the caller touched on: real damage to the monarchy doesn't come from someone eating avocados or speaking about therapy. It comes from trust issues. It comes from secrecy. It comes from protecting insiders while punishing outsiders. And the public sees that now. The standards weren't equal. Meghan got microscopic scrutiny. Others got diplomatic silence. And that double standard is what people are finally rejecting. That's why the apology matters. It's symbolic. It's the public saying, "Hold on, maybe we were distracted." Because while everyone argued about Meghan's tone or wardrobe, bigger questions were sitting there unanswered. And it almost feels like Meghan and Harry became the world's most convenient smokescreen. Focus all the noise on them, and no one looks elsewhere. But that strategy only works for so long. Eventually, reality catches up. Eventually, people compare notes. Eventually, they ask, "Wait, why were we so angry at her again?" And suddenly, the whole thing feels manufactured. That's the turning point we're watching right now. People aren't blindly accepting palace narratives anymore. They're questioning them. They're connecting dots. They're realizing Harry and Meghan might not have been exaggerating when they said they felt unsupported and targeted. Because look at the pattern. Every time they tried to speak honestly, they were mocked. Every time they set boundaries, they were labelled dramatic. Every time they told their side, they were called disloyal. But now their story looks more like foresight. They saw the cracks early. They chose peace over performance. And honestly, that might end up being the smartest royal decision in decades. Because you can't modernize an institution if it refuses accountability. You can't win over younger generations while clinging to outdated mindsets. And you definitely can't demand public respect while showing private double standards. That's not how trust works. And trust is everything. So when that caller said Meghan deserves an apology, it wasn't just emotional. It was rational. It was overdue. And it signals something bigger. The narrative is shifting. The public is waking up. And Harry and Meghan, they don't even have to fight anymore. Time is doing the work for them. Because the more the truth unfolds, the clearer it becomes. They were never the threat. They were just the easiest ones to blame. And sometimes the person the system tries hardest to silence is the one who was telling the truth all along.